Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Today's topic is about finding SBP difference greater than 20 from minimum for each patient. To understand this better, let us look into the example given below. In here we have data in which we have three columns or three variables. These are patient ID, visit, SBP. And we have two patient IDs, that is 100 and 200. And the goal here is to find out which one of these SBPs are greater than 20 from minimum for each patient. For example, if you can look into patient ID 100, we can see that the minimum here is 110. And the difference between this minimum and 140 and 131 is greater than 20, and this we want to get into our final data set. And the same is the case of 200. We want to find the minimum and the difference where with the minimum is greater than 20, and in this case this will be this particular observation. Now let us quickly look into data preparation. Data preparation for sample data set is simple, and I have used data lines to create this. And now let us try to understand what should be our strategy to solve our problem. So strategy is super simple. First point we need to do is we need to pick minimum record within each patient. Then we need to subtract every record from that minimum value, and then we need to pick up observations which have difference greater than 20. Now let us look into the very first point, that is how to pick up minimum record within each patient. To do that, first we need to sort the data by patient and SBP. And here I am using proc sort to do that. Here the code is as follows: proc sort data equal to the data set which we want to give, and by patient ID and then SBP. So what is happening in here when I say by patient underscore ID followed by SBP? We can understand this by looking into the sorted data in here. First, what happens is it is sorted first on patient underscore ID, and within this patient ID it is again sorted by the SBP values. So within each patient ID it is trying to give us, or it is going to start SBP from lowest to highest value. That is, it is going to sort from minimum to maximum value within each patient ID. Now that we have sorted our data, we know that minimum value of SBP is there in the first observation for each patient underscore ID. In the case of 100, this particular observation has our minimum value, that is first observation in these four observations. And in the case of 200, the first observation which is in here has the minimum SBP value. Now the goal is to capture these minimum values, and then we need to subtract it. First, let us see how we can grab the first observation with respective to a patient underscore ID. This is simple. To understand this, we need to look into another concept, and this is known as first dot variable and last dot variable. What are first dot variable and last dot variable? Using by group in data step creates two temporary variables, that is first dot variable and last dot variable. For purpose of this topic, we only need to understand what is first dot variable. Now let us look into first dot variable. To look into the first dot variable, what I am doing is I am using data underscore null underscore, and I am using set patient underscore SBP info, that is the data set which I am interested in. And I am also doing by patient underscore ID. As earlier said, whenever we use by group in data step, it creates two temporary variables and one of them is first dot variable. As I'm interested to look into the variable values, I'm using a put statement in here. Here I'm doing put and then I'm using patient underscore ID equal to visit equal to SBP equal to, and also I'm doing first dot patient underscore ID equal to. What this does is this puts the values of each variable for each observation into the log. Now let us try to understand these results which are there in our log, and I have pasted these results in here. Also highlighted couple of observations. Before going into those highlighted observations, let's try to understand what this whole thing is about. So when we are in the first observation, that is patient underscore ID equal to 100, visit equal to V to SBP equal to 110, that is when I have my minimum SBP, my first dot patient underscore ID equal to 1. First dot patient ID equal to 1 simply means this is the first observation in this group wherein our patient underscore ID equal to 100. What does 0 means? 0 means this is not the first observation. That means we are using the logic of 1 and zeros. 1 means generally true, 0 means false. So we now know that this is our first observation and it has our minimum value. And in the case of 200, again we have 3 observations, but if you see the very first one, it has first dot patient underscore ID equal to 1. That simply means that this is the first observation for this particular group. I have also highlighted both of the first observations for each patient underscore ID in red color. Now that we have understood our first dot patient ID equal to 1 means that is the first observation, we can use this kind of statement into our logic by simply using them conditionally. That is, we can simply say if first dot patient underscore ID equal to 1, then to do some action. This could be further simplified by just saying if first dot patient underscore ID, then we can do some action. Now let us see how we can use this logic for our advantage. Here we are saying if first dot patient underscore ID, then SBP min equal to SBP. That is, we are capturing the value of SBP when it is the first observation in each group. That is, in the case of 100 as a patient ID, we are going to capture 110 value into our SBP underscore min variable. When it is 200, we are going to capture 109 value in SBP underscore min column. Now that we are able to capture the minimum variables, all we need to do is we need to retain these values for whole of the group, and then we can do our subtraction. Now let us see how we can do that. We can do simply that by using a retain statement, and these values are retained as shown in here. Now let us see how this whole thing works. This is first dot patient underscore ID for the ID 100, and we are going to have this value, means we are going to capture the value of SBP into SBP underscore min. And here we have missing values. As we have set to retain, here this value is going to get retained. But when we are getting into 200, the very first observation where first dot patient underscore ID is 1, then we are going to capture that value. and we are not going to capture the remaining values, so they are going to retain as we have retain statement here. By simply using if first dot logic and retain, we were able to capture the minimum values into one particular variable. Now all we need to do is we need to subtract and we need to find when the difference is greater than 20. And I'm going to add that particular line in here. That is, if SBP, that is if SBP minus SBP min is greater than 20, then only do an output. And this yields the result we want. Before closing this topic, I would like to quickly reiterate all the things. With the help of retain and if first dot logic, we were able to capture the minimum value for each group. And with the help of if SBP minus SBP underscore min greater than 20, we are able to find observations in which the difference between minimum and original values is greater than 20 within each patient underscore ID. Before completing this topic, I would like to mention a couple of points. I might have mentioned observation, row and record interchangeably, and it's okay, they are one and the same. And I also might have mentioned patient and patient underscore ID interchangeably. And the variable name was supposed to be patient underscore ID, not patient, and it's my mistake. And I'm sorry about that. And that's all for this topic. If you have liked this topic, please give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe. Thank you.